Hello, souls and spirits out there, and welcome back to this sacred space where we talk about the mystical, the magical, the metaphysical, and those energetic threads that connect all of us. Today's topic honors another turning point in the Wheel of the Year. It's kind of a quiet, subtle energy, but a deeply hopeful time. It's the halfway point between winter and spring. I honor it personally as Imbolc, and even when winter is still kind of raging around us, right now as I'm recording this, I can hear the wind just kind of hammering against the house because it is so strong out there. Imbolc reminds us that we are nearly to spring. It is traditionally celebrated on February 1st, marking the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. The word Imbolc is believed to come from an old Irish name, which translates to something like in the belly, and it's a reference to pregnancy, just like this time is. It's a time to honor that quiet gestation period that the frozen earth is going through right now and what we are personally going through as spiritual beings. For the ancient Celtic societies, this time of year was deeply practical and spiritual. The days are finally noticeably getting a little bit longer, and I can almost taste spring in the air when I walk outside. I'll walk out to check on one of my animals, and I can just almost feel it. I can look around and be like, yes, it's getting brighter, the days are getting longer, and I can feel the subtle shift in the air, if that makes sense. Imbolc is about that promise that days will get longer and warmth will return to us. And if you think about it, say a few, 100 years or so ago, without the luxuries that we have today, like indoor plumbing, heat, refrigerators, electricity, any mark closer to the harsh, dangerous winters being almost over was going to be celebrated. The winters were so fierce and so many deaths happen and sickness, and there's a limited supply of food, and it was a scary time period for them during the year, for any society, any tradition, like indigenous people that didn't have our luxuries that we have today. It was a scary time period. They had to be very intentional with where they were, how they lived, what they ate, what they grew, the animals that they kept, so they could all survive. And so any little part that shows that they are getting a little bit closer to that not being nearly as scary was going to be celebrated. And that's what Imbolc is kind of about. This festival also honors the Celtic goddess Bridget, associated with healing, with fire, poetry, fertility, and the home space. She later became Saint Bridget in the Christian traditions, showing how pagan and Christian traditions blend quite a bit throughout the year. At the heart of the festival, Imbolc celebrates this renewal, this purification, hope, inner fire, and that final prep for rebirth. Spiritually, this time of year is kind of a threshold moment for us. Everything is kind of changing beneath the surface. Soon we will see the bright yellow daffodils peeking their little heads out, letting us know that spring has sprung. But right now, it's a time for kind of clearing out the clutter, cleansing your spiritual items, your spiritual places, and rededicating yourself and your items, whatever it is, to your own path. Unlike some of the more well-known and kind of louder festivals throughout the calendar, Imbolc kind of whispers instead of shouts. It reminds us that transformation doesn't always arrive with kind of these big fireworks going off. It sometimes arrives with kind of that quiet little yes inside your heart. You don't need to recreate some kind of elaborate ancient ritual to honor Imbolc or this time of year. This holiday is all about simplicity and intention and just awareness of what is going on. You can light candles. Fire is a central theme for this holiday for kind of all traditions. You can light them for Bridget if you wish, just to honor the returning sunlight and inner inspiration. As you light your candle, you may want to say something like, I welcome the return of the warmth and the light within and all around me. clean your home intentionally, burn some incense or spray some sage spray with, good essential oils. I make my own and I spray it consistently to just kind of keep the spiritual cleanliness of the space kind of going. Sweep your floors with intention. As you clean, imagine releasing any old stagnation and energy. I just purchased a all wooden broom, like one of the good brooms, but a completely wooden one the other day, and I'm turning it into my, kind of magic broom, and not for like writing like the kind of witch tales say, but for intentional cleaning, for when I, bless and cleanse and ward my home. I've always kind of swept and cleaned the floors, but I just use, my traditional broom and everything. But after I am going to sweep my floors regularly, like with my vacuum, and then mop, and then when everything dries, I'm going to put some of my holy salt down, and I am going to intentionally sweep my floors of any kind of stagnant energy and sweeping away anything that no longer belongs in my house. I hope that makes sense. It's just part of the prepping for kind of this next season. So, and that's what this kind of time is about. Start prepping for the coming of spring. What are you wanting to grow? What needs nourishing in your life? What small steps can you take in these coming months so you have a really fruitful harvest in the fall? An Irish tradition that I actually grew up with was to leave a scarf or some type of cloth outside on January 31st for Bridget to bless with healing and protection, that kind of energy as she travels by in the night. I don't know when we started that, but even to this day, my mom will remind me, don't forget to lay your scarves out for Bridget. So to honor the sacred feminine energy that this time represents, because remember, it's kind of the pregnancy, the gestation time, so it's divine feminine energy. You could create art. You could try your hand at some poetry, or even just go listen to it, or go listen to a book reading, something like that. Visit a natural water source. Water sources are very feminine energy wise. And if you want to honor Bridget, light a candle for her or have a fire outside. She's considered the Lady of the Eternal Flame. Her followers actually maintained a perpetual flame at her shrine, which was at Kildare, Ireland, from up until the 16th century. They kept this perpetual fire going in her shrine. There is still a big St. Bridget Cathedral there in Kildare that has services that are dedicated to St. Bridget. There's some seasonal foods for this festival of this kind of time of year for Imbolc. They include dairy products, since sheep start having babies kind of around this time of year. Then, of course, the production of milk happens. Milk is going to be a big one. Oats, breads, and root vegetables. They symbolize this kind of nourishment and preparation. And I think one of the most beautiful things about Imbolc is how many cultures actually mark this time of year. So the Lunar New Year in East Asian traditions is coming up. This year it falls on February 17th. So if you want to honor that, I was really excited. I was walking through the store the other day and I saw a whole section dedicated to foods and drinks and things for the Lunar New Year. And I had never seen that before. And so that was really exciting to see. And that was just the other day. So to celebrate this, to bring good luck into your house, you clean your house before the new year and you sweep out the old. So again, that intentional purification time. Decorate with red and gold for energy and prosperity. And then being with family is really important on the Lunar New Year, as well as focusing on kind of just harmony in general. Candlemas in the Christian tradition celebrates the presentation of Jesus after his birth, and also the purification again of Mary 40 days after the birth had taken place. It symbolizes Christ as the light of the world, and candles are blessed at this time of year, which echoes Imbolc's fire symbolism. I too like to bless and charge my candles at this time of year, and I ask Bridget to help me with that as the Lady of Sacred Fires. So I'm kind of taking a blend there of Christian blessing of the candles and honoring Bridget as Lady of the Eternal Fire to kind of build my intention for blessing my candles. So again, that's how I like to take kind of everything around me and blend it into what feels right for me. This candle mass actually takes the place of the Roman celebration of Februarnalia, if I'm saying that right, where we actually get the month of February's name. It was another kind of purification ritual for the ancient Romans. And then the Hindu tradition, let's see if I can pronounce it right, Bulsat Panchami, is celebrated in late January or early February. In 2026, it actually just happened on Friday, January 23rd. It's to celebrate the coming of spring and to honor the goddess Saraswati, a goddess of wisdom, learning, and creativity. It is celebrated by wearing yellow attire, bright yellow, and offering yellow flowers and eating yellow sweets are some of the kind of easier ways that we can honor it if we wish. Metaphysically, yellow is the color of creativity and knowledge, so it is perfect for this type of celebration. In many Jewish traditions, sunset on February 1st to nightfall on February 2nd marks Tu Bishvat. I don't know if I'm saying that right. There's a lot of hard names this time, which is like Jewish Arbor Day almost, often called the New Year for the trees or the birthday for the trees of all trees. I love that. Regardless of where or when they were planted, it's their birthday. And it was once established by farmers as a way of keeping time in the year. It is now honored for growth and our roots and just the plant kingdom in general. And we cannot go talking about this time and forget Valentine's Day, which is always on February 14th. This year, it falls on Saturday, which I'm sure will make the economy very happy. The history of Valentine's Day has always been a bit of a mystery. Origins found this ancient Roman festival, Lupercalia or Lupercal, observed annually on February 15th. It promotes good health and fertility again. They had matchmaking lotteries where men drew women's names to pair them up for the festival, but they also had some strange rituals like priests running around with goatskin strips and gently striking women to help ease childbirth and promote fertility. And of course, the normal goat sacrifices to honor the gods. They did that as well. Around the 5th century, though, the Pope came in and banned this pagan holiday and established St. Valentine's Day, which could be honored for one of the 3 different saints named Valentine. They're not for sure who, but all of them were martyred. So it could be any of them. And some of the stories say 2 of them were actually the same person. Who knows? History gets a little dicey there. Who knows where it actually got its romantic association, though, but some believed it's because of the bird mating season that was happening in early France and England at this time, and because of the lovebirds that they had there, that it was kind of their mating season. Handmade Valentine's Day cards started appearing around the 14th century, so it's kind of bloomed from there and then became what it is today. So whether you celebrate one or more of these festivals, I feel like this time of year, these celebrations are here to help give us hope that spring and warmth and new life is kind of right around the corner. So many of us get kind of down emotionally and energetic this time of year. Blues because of the season changes, the cold, whether it's the holidays, a lot of people get down around the holidays, the cold, or just the gloominess of the gray skies that we typically see outside of our window when we look. Whether it's one or all of these things, so many people have trouble kind of getting their spirits and energy up at this time of year. But I think when we start to look at life and we start to look at like the festivals and the calendar, specifically like we are today, we can see that this kind of the energy of this time is the last big push, the last big bit of prep work for springtime. I feel like it can really shift our entire outlook when we start to really look at the energy around us instead of just, waiting for the warmth to come back, waiting for summer and, the fun times to come back. If we look at each little thing it has a purpose. What am I supposed to be learning here? What am I supposed to be doing in my life? It can really help us, and it can help the time period move along even more. Or I know it at least did for me. It helped me shift my entire outlook. When I started looking at the wheel of the year and the seasons and how they started correlating to my physical lives and spiritual life, I started working with them rather than against them. The energy in my life really shifted. And I don't feel like I'm running into a wall or dragged down so much anymore. Now, that's not to say that I don't at all. I mean, I can hear the wind raging outside and I know it's cold, and my daughter loves to be outside and she really wants to go outside right now, but it's just really too cold. But as I look out the window right now, the sky is actually blue. Like I can see the sky and I can see the clouds shifting very quickly. I can see the trees bent over because the wind is so harsh, but I can see the subtle shifts in the sky and the plants around me, and that makes me hopeful and that makes me excited for what's coming up next. When we start living our lives with intention and recognizing that everything around us has a purpose, it can really shift our mindset. So this time of year is asking us to just be a little bit more patient. The light is returning, but it's not in a rush, and so we shouldn't either. So keep being gentle with yourself at this time. It's still a time to kind of relax and prep and plan. So we don't need to hurry that along. We don't need to hurry the quickness that, spring and summer tend to bring. We still need to be kind of gentle with ourselves, but we can start prepping for that time period so we're not feeling just like we're like sitting stagnant either. And that can really help kind of shift the energy. So until next time, I hope you honor this time of year and trust what it is becoming. I'll see you soon.